Children, today we are going to discuss about Unit 3 reading The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. So before going to this lesson, we must know about this great writer, that's Oscar Wilde. He was an Irish writer, that means he was born in Ireland, and a poet. After writing in different forms throughout 1880s, he became one of the London's most popular playwright in early 1890s. Today he is remembered for his epigrams and plays. Oscar Wilde is best known for his novel The Picture of Dorian. Okay, one of the best novel written by Oscar Wilde. The Picture of Dorian Gray and the play The Importance of Being Honest, The Happy Prince, and the other stories is a collection of children's stories. So, The Selfish Giant is actually a story written by Oscar Wilde, but it has been dramatized for you. Okay. So, before going to the lesson, we must know what is the gist of this lesson. There was a giant. He was very selfish. He had a beautiful garden, but he did not allow anyone to play there. Once he went to his friend's house and stayed there for long days, long years. When he returned, one day he woke up and saw the children were playing there. And when he approached to the children started to run away. He said that it is my garden and I won't allow anyone to play here. The children went out and he built a huge fence around the garden. And he notified there that the trespassers will be prosecuted. That means no one allowed without his permission. So the children started to play on the outside. There are rock, dust, everything there. And in this way, what happened? The season came. When the season came, there was only fog. There was only snow, hailstorm. Nothing was there. The garden did not have flower, bees, butterflies, anything else. It became just like a desert. Okay. Then after, he changed his mind. In the next part, we will discuss about it. So the writer want to say here one thing from the gospel. There's a Bible that if you love your fellow man, God will love you. So everywhere it is written. Okay, so he wanted to show the same thing here in this play with the character of the giant. Okay, let's now see and go through the lesson. Old giant and the giant they refer to the same character. The giant is the selfish character, whereas the old giant is a changed and kind character. So in the due course of the time, he changed himself. An old giant addressed the audience directly. So when the curtain opens, the action plays about behind him as he describes it. The old giant is saying, I once owned a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars. And there were 12 peach trees that in the springtime broke out into delicate blossoms of pink and pearls, and in the autumn before rich fruit. Okay, bore the rich fruit. So he's describing his past things here. Once I had a beautiful garden, and in the garden different type of fruits and flower trees were there. The birds sat on the trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games in order to listen to them. So while passing through the garden, children used to stop and listen to the beautiful songs of the birds. Every afternoon, as they were coming from the school, the children used to go and play in my garden. But one day I came back. I had been to visit my friend at Cornish Or and had stayed with him for 7 years. So I told you that when once he went to his friend's house and he stayed there for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, I had said all that I had to say, and I determined to return to my own castle. So he said to his friend, it's a long time I stayed with you. Now I have to return to my castle. When I arrived, I saw children playing in my garden. So the children were playing. The giant approached to the children. What are you doing here? So he approached to the children and asked, what are you doing here? My own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that, and I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. So this is my garden. I won't allow anyone to play here. I will only play here. So I built a high wall around the garden and put up a notice board. So the giant put a notice board building a high wall around the garden so that the children could not come into the garden. Trespassers will be prosecuted. I heard the children whispering outside the wall on their way to school. So when he built the wall, no children could come into the garden. But while going and passing through the garden, they used to stay there and talking to each other. What are the children talking? Now we have nowhere to play. We can play on the road, but the road is very dusty. So they decided that as we don't have any chance to get into the garden, we have to play on the road. But the road is totally dusty and full of hard stones. I don't like it. Let's walk around the wall. When our lessons are over, at least we can talk about the beautiful garden inside. So they are thinking that, okay, whatever. While coming from the class, that means from the school is over, we'll come here and talk about this garden. How happy we were there. There is a very selfish giant. So the children called him as a selfish giant. Yeah, my own garden is my own garden. Anyone can understand that. And I will allow nobody to play in it but myself. Okay, still the giant is selfish. He has not changed himself. Then the spring came and all over the country there were little blossoms and little buds. Only in my garden it was still winter. So when the spring comes, usually the snow melts and everywhere looks very beautiful. The flower starts to blossom. But here in the giant's garden, there was still winter is there. No spring. The birds did not come to sing and the trees forgot to blossom. Okay, because it was only winter and winter, snow and snow everywhere. The people who were pleased best were snow and the frost. The snow and the frost were there. Spring has forgotten this garden. So now we can live here all the year round. So snow is telling, so this is our garden. We will rule over it and stay here for the years. The snow covered up the grass with her great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. So everywhere filled with snow and silvery color. No other color is seen there. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them. So before that, snow and frost were there. Now they called the north wind. It is very swift, very fast. When he came, he was wrapped in a heavy furs. He roared all day about the garden and rejoiced in the blowing the chimney pots over. So the swift wind came and blown away the chimney pots of the castle of the giant. This is a delightful spot. We must ask the hail to come on to visit. Again, they called the hail. Snow, frost, north wind, and hail. These are the things prevailing there. So the old hail came. Every day for the 3 hours he rattled on the roof of the castle till he broke most of the slates. So hail came. Hail means hailstones. So it broke the slates of the castle. Then he ran round and round the garden as fast as he could go. He was dressed in grey and his breath was like ice. So when the hail is going, the breeze is coming just like ice. I sat at the window and looked out at my old cold white garden. So the selfish giant could not do anything. There was no spring, only winter is prevailing there. So he became undone. Yes, he's looking through his window, the cool and the frost, the snow, no flower, no fruits, no bees. I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming. I hope there will be a change in the winter. So the giant waited. Okay, there will be a change in the seasons and weather. But the spring never came, nor the summer. The autumn gave golden fruits to every garden, but to my garden she gave none. So autumn came after the spring, but no fruits there. Without the flowers, there will be no fruits. Everywhere fruits and flowers are there, but in giant's garden, nothing was there. Autumn said he is too selfish. So it was always winter here, and the north wind, and the hail, and the frost, and the snow danced about through the trees. So, as the giant was so selfish, no one came there. Neither the spring, nor the autumn, nor the summer. Only there was prevailing of hailstone, frost, north wind, and everything is covered with the snow and snow. It looked just like a desert without the birds, without the flowering trees and the fruits. Okay, dear children, can you understand the part 1 of selfish giant? In the second part, we will discuss about how he has changed and what are the changes came in the garden of the selfish giant. I will send you the question answers and the glossary of the lesson. Okay, try to understand read the copies, textbook copies I will send you. Okay, thank you.